My name is Melissa. Welcome to this Hatha class. I'm going to start in standing with the feet apart, interlacing the hands, reach them up and over your head, turning the palms to face the ceiling. We're reaching the arms to the right, hips to the left, big side bend. And inhaling back up, changing to stretch to the left. One more time each side. And this time as you come up, we're going to go to the right, but then carry that stretch down towards the front of your feet. Circling over to the left, and then opening the chest to the front, and returning back to stand. Reverse your direction. Start with a side bend to the left. Start to come down towards the feet. Crossing the front of the feet. Over to the right. Turning the chest open to the front. And all the way to top. One more time each side. Go to the right. See if you can make it smooth. See if you can get slow, controlling the movement, and reversing direction here. Nice. Coming back, hands behind your back. We'll interlace the fingers, maybe the opposite grip if you remember the grip you had just now. Pull the corners of the shoulders back, elbows tight, and then draw the hands slightly back. Look up, and then with a bend of your knees, start to come into a forward fold. Allow the arms to come forward and over your head as much as possible. You might test the weight through your feet, sending the weight slightly forward. See if you can relax the muscles of your legs, your back, your head, and your neck. And again, inhale, lift the chest, and then allow the hands to come down to the floor. And step back towards a downward facing dog. So, in downward facing dog, the legs could be bent, right? Maybe there's a bend in the knees, maybe your heels are lifted away from the floor. But if you can, try to straighten your arms, lengthen the sides of your body, taking the hips up and back. If you feel the need to move here, go ahead, shift. You could pedal, you could sway the hips side to side. From downward dog, come forward towards a plank position, and of course you could be plank on your knees. And we'll lower all the way down onto the front. So you might be lowering from the knees. Once you come down onto the floor, untuck your toes. You could swim your legs back, straightening out the front of your legs and hips towards the floor. On an inhale, lift to a baby cobra. And then slowly come down. We're going to add a little bit of a curve here to our cobra. So with the right hand, bring it right in front of the chest and bring your left hand beside the waist. On an inhale, cobra to your left. And you can go up as high as you'd like. Maybe you come to a little bit more lift, a little bit more of a straighter arm, and then bring yourself right back down. And a curve to the right. So the right hand can come beside the waist, left hand in front of your chest, and then press into the hands. Think of cobra going a little bit to the right. Nice. Bring it down with control. And we do one more time each side. So left hand beside the hip, right hand in front of the chest. Go ahead, maybe your arms straighten even more as you start to feel a little bit warmer through the back, through the body. Right hand to the right waist, left hand in front of the chest, and we lift the body for cobra towards the right. On your way down, bring your hands beside you. We're going to come up to a regular cobra facing forward. So as you press into your hands, lift the chest, roll the shoulders back, and squeeze the back of your armpits. From here, if you can, look over your left shoulder. Maybe you can spot your right foot and then change direction, looking over your right shoulder. Now as you twist, just make sure you're not sinking into the hands, you're still pushing the mat away. And then coming back through the middle, slowly release to the mat. Take a long breath in and a full breath out. Pressing into the hands and the knees, we're going to go back towards a child's pose. And I like to have an active child's pose. That just means my hands don't slide, my arms are straight, and I'm maybe looking a little bit forward towards the space between my hands. I find I experience a bit more length through the underside of my arms and through the top parts of my back muscles when I keep it active. From here, tuck your toes under and come into your downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, we'll step the right foot forward towards the right hand. With the right hand, we're going to bring the elbow towards the floor inside the ankle. So you're just going to crouch in there with your right elbow trying to reach the floor. You might not get to the floor, that's okay. Right hand reaches up to the sky and look up towards your hand. If you can, the back knee is off the floor. If you need it to come to the floor, you can rest it on the mat. Right elbow down, look down. Inhale, look up, reach up. Third time, elbow towards the floor. And then hand goes up. We'll bring the right hand to the floor, left knee to the floor, and walk your fingertips forward. Now, if you have the space, this will allow your chest to come a little bit lower and your shoulders to remain down. If it's too much to bring the hands forward, then just keep them stacked under the shoulder. Watch your right foot, your right knee. Can we keep the knee pointing forward? Can we keep it stacked over the ankle? Hug the outer right hip back. And if you feel it, you could always straighten the back leg as well. See if you can hold. Notice what you feel through your right hip. Allow the left knee to come back down to the mat and walk your hands back. We can place the hands on top of the right thigh to bring us towards a kneeling lunge. And from here, sweep the right arm back, left arm forward. So you're in a twist, arms wide, arms open. Just pause, see if you can sink your outer right hip. Can you get your torso to be upright? So there might be a tendency of leaning forward. If you can, you might need to adjust your spacing or your foot position. And if you'd like, maybe a little back bend. So option to start to take that left arm up, 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 and the right hand can rest either towards your back foot or even on your low back. As you reach, you might start to feel your left front hip. And then we'll bring the hands towards the floor and step the right foot back. We'll go to downward facing dog. Now, if you prefer to take a bit more rest, it could be in child's pose or tabletop, then allow yourself to rest in a different shape than the downward dog. So we're coming to the other side. I'm going to turn around on my mat so my working side is still facing you, but you can just stay on your mat facing the same direction. Now with the left foot, we'll step towards the left hand. And if it takes 2 steps to get there, it's totally fine. We're going to try to keep the right knee off the floor. Left arm up. And then elbow towards the inside of the left ankle. You'll look to the floor to get there. Reach the left arm up and bring the elbow to the floor. So like I said before, you might not make it to the mat, that's okay, just have that as the direction of movement. And turning in towards the mat. Good. And then placing the left hand on the floor just inside of the foot. We'll place the right knee on the floor just for now. An option to walk your hands forward. As the hands come forward, you can imagine your arms are a little bit like downward dog position arms. Hug your outer left hip back. See if you can keep the stack of the knee over ankle as well as the hug of the knee next to your side ribs. Pause here for a moment. Breathe. Notice if you're gripping in any part of your body and if you could maybe let go of that extra effort. If on the other side you lifted the back knee, you might add that here. All right, if you are choosing to lift the back knee, nothing else in your pose changes. I'll place my right knee back down on the floor and walk my hands closer towards me. Bring the hands up onto the left thigh to find myself in the kneeling lunge. Left arm will sweep back, opening the body to a twist. Outer left hip is heavy, spine is vertical. So if you happen to have a mirror where you can see yourself, see if you can level the shoulders, if you can keep an upright posture. Adding a little back bend, left arm reaches down as the right arm reaches up. And again, the left hand might come towards the leg, the foot might rest on your low back. So you can lift up the right side even more. Notice sensation at the front of your right hip or right thigh. And then we'll bring the hands back to the mat. You can step back to child's pose or your resting pose of choice. You might feel good to just remain in a downward dog. And of course, if there's any adjustments or movements that you'd like to take to reset the body, you do those. Again, I'm going to change my direction so my working side will be facing you. We're going to be moving forward with the right foot. So now the right foot steps forward and the left knee's on the floor. You walk your hands back towards you, and if you have blocks, this is a great place to use them. Go ahead and straighten your right leg as best you can. And it's not a big deal if you cannot straighten your right leg or it feels like too much. You could maybe slide the foot a little further forward. Again, if you have blocks, it might make it a little easier to have a bit of height. Right? And even if you have a bit of a bend in the knee, you will still experience lengthening or stretching at the back of your right thigh. Bend the right knee, sweep the arms up for a low lunge. And in this low lunge, my knee might pass the toe, but I'm going to reach that heart right up, trying to pull the ribcage away from the hips. As an option, you could tuck the back toe under and lift the body towards a high lunge. So just see if that's appropriate for you. If not, you can put the hands down first, straighten the back knee, and then reach the arms up. From your high lunge, open yourself into a lunge twist. So you were here before, except for last time you were on your back knee, and you're certainly welcome to put the back knee down if it feels like too much. Otherwise, your back knee's off the floor and you're twisting as best you can. option to add that same back bend we had the last time. You might experiment with how much you bend the front knee. You might be needing to bend the back knee as well. And then we'll sweep the hands to the floor. And we'll go back either to your tabletop or downward dog or rest. Right, sometimes you might feel like, wow, after a lot of lunges, I need the rest of a child's pose. And if that's the case, certainly take it. Right, so the breaks in between for you to reset your body. With the left foot, when you're ready, take a step forward towards your left hand and place the right knee on the floor. If you had blocks on the other side, you might use them here again, straightening the left leg. Now, of course, you might be sending that left foot a little bit more forward if you need the space. Another version, if it works better for you, is to have the toes up rather than toes down. Right. And if this feels really easy for you, go ahead, lengthen your heart forward. Feel the reach of the chest forward, more of a deep hinge at the hip. Bending the left knee, sweep the arms up, low lunge, and of course you could bend the front knee a little bit more. And if you are choosing to go a little bit deeper, remember that you want to lift up, right? So if you're going forward but you're starting to collapse forward, or you're losing the connection of your low belly, low core, the lift of your pelvic floor, if all of that's kind of coming apart, maybe back off. And in this low lunge, if it feels good to curl the back toes under and make it a high lunge, see if that's available. You might need to put your hands down first, and that's okay. And then opening to the twist, arms wide. So we try not to change the legs too much here. You might sink the outer left hip a little bit. You're welcome to bend the back knee as needed. Notice your breath, right? We're increasing the effort, so it will feel harder. Can you manage it? Adding a little back bend here. Right arm up, any amount. And then taking the hands to the floor. We'll step back and take a rest. Again, the rest is completely up to you and how you feel your energy levels today. Coming forward here into the tabletop. Do a few cat-cows. Cats where your back is round. Cow is where the belly goes down. And I like to do a little side to side, maybe a few scribbles through the spine just to get things moving and to reset. I'm going to come up onto my toes, just walk it forward towards the hands. When I get to the hands, I'll reach my chest forward, going nice and long through the spine, and then just exhale to fold. Here, I'll place my fingertips forward of my feet so that my shoulders will stack above my wrists or fingertips, and my hips are somewhere over my heels. Now, this is pretty deep for a lot of us, so you might, again, benefit from the use of blocks. Also, if maybe you don't have blocks, you can always use a low chair, right? The edge of your coffee table. Even if you're a little bit higher than 90 degrees, it's totally okay. It might actually allow you a bit more freedom in your movement. So here, with your fingertips on the floor, feet on the floor, see if you can take your right leg straight back. And as you hold your right leg straight back, reach your chest forward. Pause. And then as an extra little challenge, maybe you can make your hands feel a touch lighter. They'll stay on the floor for this, but just see if you can make them feel lighter. So you're really going to work that left leg. And then go ahead, put the right foot back down, and we'll switch sides. So the left leg goes back, square hips, straight leg, and the fingertips are on the floor. You push out of your left heel. And again, depending on your practice and of course your setup, can you make it feel a little bit lighter in the hands? And of course, that's going to be easier the higher your chest is. So if you're on blocks, it'll be a little bit easier perhaps than if you're all the way down on the floor. Okay, we'll bring the left foot down. Good work. And then go ahead, bend the knees. Should feel good, feel like a little bit of a break. And then we'll stand all the way up. And hands down. So one more time through that same shape, but this time coming into it from a standing position. Don't feel you have to go as low with the chest as you did just there with your hands on the mat. If you feel better with your hands on the mat, you feel better with that support, hands on your low chair or coffee table, then use your hands on a surface, right? If that makes this more accessible. This is an option for those who want to try balancing without your hands on that surface. I'm going to take my hands on my hips. You can take your hands wherever feels good. Sometimes taking the arms up to the side can make it feel like you have a little bit of a tool here for your balance. Grounding down through the left leg. Send the right leg back. And again, feel free to stay just tilted forward a little bit. If you feel more comfortable, you might hinge a bit deeper. I usually take my time and add a little bit and just see where my body is at. If it feels like today is a day where I could hinge a bit more than I do. If not, I just stay a little bit higher. And as you come down, try your best to keep your hips square. Those right toes, they want to turn out, your knee wants to turn out, but see if you can keep things facing the floor. Take your time to stand, breathe, reset, and then we're going to switch sides. So we're going to do the same with the other leg. We're going to send the weight down the right foot, feel grounded, and then taking left leg back, starting to hinge at the hip. And again, you might pause a little bit less than your max. See if you feel good, if you need to do any micro adjustments, and then you add your depth. Hips are square, spine is long, and you're not holding your breath. Coming up, take a moment, take a breath. And my feet, they're hip distance apart here, and come all the way down to a deep squat. And if you'd like to take your feet a little bit wider, right, if you'd like to turn your toes out, you certainly can. I find that squat position, and again, your squat might be up here, right, is a nice way to kind of just change it up, stretch out that back side and the hips. And then we'll just sit right down. From the seated position, I'm going to come down on the back. Now, to come down on the back, if you want a little bonus work for the core, we're going to roll back. If you don't want that work, just lie down. So arms are reaching forward, tucking the tail. Take your time to curl down, one vertebra at a time. And when you get there, we'll step the feet onto the floor. So now you're setting your body up for bridge position. Now in bridge position, you might have heard that you want to be able to graze your heels. Some of us can do that, some of us can't, right? It just depends on the shape of your body, how you're built. I actually prefer to have my feet a bit forward of being able to touch my heels. To me, that's just a little more comfortable. We're going to be doing bridge, but I'm going to add in some reaches with the arms. If you don't like the idea of reaching, you can just stay with your traditional bridge. So with bridge, I press into the feet, I reach the knees forward and the hips come up. Knees reaching forward helps me think of pulling the heels towards the head. And then from here, the right arm is going to reach up and over towards the left corner of my mat. I'll return the shoulder to the mat, and then I'll go over with the left arm. And then come back. Now, if you feel you need to come all the way down to reset, you certainly can. Otherwise, we're going to keep going. So if you need to come down and then go back up and then add your reaches, totally okay, right? Just alternating side to side. You don't have to hold, but I do want to feel like you can control and that you can keep your hips off the mat. Right, maybe I'll do one more reach each side. If you've come down to reset, you should be able to get maybe 1 or 2 sets in. And then whenever you're done, come on down. So like I said, if it's new for you, you might just reach one corner, and then come down, go back up and do the same. Placing the bottoms of the feet together, we'll find ourselves here in a supine butterfly pose. So now my knees are falling open, the bottoms of my feet are resting one to the other, and I'm just placing the weight of my hands to the inner leg. So I'm not actively pressing down. I can just feel the warmth of my palms and the weight of my hands just resting on the inner leg. Allow yourself to take a few breaths. Then closing the knees. Bring the knees towards the chest. And with the knees up at the chest, you can either just hug the knees, which feels good, right? Or if you'd like, reaching for the feet or even the backs of the knees for a happy baby position. So happy baby, I have my heels above my knees, I'm relaxing the hip to try to get the knees to sink lower to the space beside my ribs. And wherever you happen to be reaching on the leg, right, doesn't have to be the feet, I'd like you to take a place that doesn't force you to lift your head, neck, and shoulders, right? So I want to open the hips, but I don't want to do that at the cost of my head, neck, and shoulder position, right? I want to add tension there to open tension somewhere else. Okay, releasing the legs. We'll let the feet come down for a final rest in Shavasana. Now, if you know that final rest is uncomfortable, just flat on the floor, you'd like to put your head on a pillow, or you would like to put blocks under your legs, or some other kind of setup, please feel free to do that. You might even prefer to take yourself in an upright seated position. But whatever shape you happen to be in, let your eyes close, your awareness to go inwards. ideally, if you have the time, stay in your final rest for another 3 or 4 minutes. But if you need to get on with your day, you might start to bring your awareness to your fingers and your toes, your wrists and your ankles. I like to lengthen and stretch. As the knees come towards the chest, rolling to one side of the body, you can spend time on your side. You can come up when you feel ready. Thank you so much for sharing your day with me. Thank you for your energy, for practicing yoga, and especially for all of your efforts. Have a great rest of your day.